What Keanu Reeves did when a crying mother approached him will shock you. The John Wick actor, who is well known for being down to earth, has just done something that blew people's minds. The crying mother was about to be evicted from her home, and Keanu did the most generous thing ever. He bought her a house. Mind-blowing. This is making a lot of people nod their heads in respect. Want to hear how it happened? Come along as we explore the goodness and generosity of the Matrix legend. The humble and kind Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves was having a normal day, walking through the street like a normal person, which is what he normally does, and we'll talk about how down-to-earth he is to do that. While on his walk, a woman with her 4-year-old child on her back ran to him, crying. He was startled, but he was curious. She was in trouble. Her rent was overdue, and she had been thrown out by the landlord. She didn't even know who he was. She just needed some money to buy food for her daughter. Keanu was shocked by this. He pitied her and bought them both meals. But when he heard about her house problem, you won't believe what he did afterwards. He took her to a house on the market and paid for it instantly. She was shocked to the core. It makes you wonder, what kind of man is Keanu Reeves? He is an actor with one of those careers that feels so unique, perhaps because of his gentle energy and incredible talent. He first gained major attention in the late 80s and early 90s, not because he was particularly loud or flashy, but because of his natural charm and a quiet presence that seemed to draw people in without effort. There's something very approachable about him as an actor. Perhaps that is what pulled the woman in. He doesn't overwhelm you. He invites you into the story. When he started out, he was seen more as the guy with the laid-back surfer dude vibe, especially in films like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where his clueless but lovable character became an instant hit. There was this warmth and innocence about him that made audiences smile. People didn't just watch him act, they felt like they knew him. Then, as time passed, Keanu started to show a whole different side of himself, and in a way, the world began to see that there was more to him than just playing funny or easygoing roles. When The Matrix was released, it was like a turning point. The character of Neo became iconic, and so did Keanu's portrayal. The role needed someone who could be both a normal man and a hero, and Keanu brought that balance in a way few others could. He has this ability to seem both vulnerable and powerful at the same time, which worked perfectly in a story about a common guy discovering that he's capable of extraordinary things. And even though The Matrix was packed with mind-bending concepts and groundbreaking action scenes, Keanu's performance gave it a human center. You didn't just watch him jump between buildings or dodge bullets. You supported him because you could see a bit of yourself in his journey. And as you probably guess what happened next. His career took on an almost mythic uproar after that, with roles in action-packed films like John Wick. In those movies, even though he plays this skilled, ruthless assassin, he still manages to imbue his character with a deep sense of grief and a quest for redemption. You can see that he's not just someone going through the motions of fight scenes. He's a man with a past, someone weighed down by loss. And this is what makes Keanu so special as an actor. His ability to layer these emotions without making a big show of it. He doesn't need to explain to you how his characters feel because he conveys so much with just a look or a quiet moment. Even in a genre that is known for being loud and intense, Keanu gives his characters a depth that's easy to miss if you only focus on the action. But his roles aren't just what makes him a special person. Outside of his roles, Keanu's personal life seems to add another dimension to his appeal. Stories about his kindness and generosity have become almost legendary, and unlike so many other celebrities, he's not one to seek attention for it, and we'll delve deeply into that soon enough. But sadly, someone as kind and wonderful as Keanu has had to face personal tragedies as well. He has lost loved ones, yet he never lets these hardships define him. Instead, they seem to add a quiet strength to who he is. It's as if he's able to tap into these experiences in a way that fuels his acting, giving his performances an undercurrent of emotion that feels real and earned. At the same time, he doesn't let those struggles overshadow the joy he brings to others. His interactions with people seem effortless, and he always comes across as someone who truly listens. It's not just that he's polite, it's that he's present, fully engaged in the moment with whoever he's with. Fans and colleagues can attest to that as they often describe him as approachable and sincere, someone who hasn't been changed by fame in the way you might expect. It's as though he has kept the same authenticity he started life with up till this point. And even as he's worked in a wide variety of genres, no matter what kind of character he's playing, there's always that core of authenticity that draws people in. And while he's undoubtedly successful, it's clear that he doesn't measure himself by the same standards that others might. For Keanu, it's not about chasing fame or fortune. It's about the work, the connections he makes, and maybe even a search for meaning in everything he does. There's a reason why people are drawn to his story, and it goes beyond just being a fan of his movies. Keanu Reeves represents a kind of decency and humility that we barely see in the world we live in today. Whether he's portraying a world-saving hero or just being himself in the real world, there's always something deeply human about him. That's why, even after decades in the spotlight, he continues to inspire admiration, not just as an actor, but as a person. When you think about the typical Hollywood star, especially someone who's been as successful as Keanu, it's easy to imagine them living in a bubble, disconnected from the everyday experiences most people go through. But Keanu has always been the opposite of that. He is so unpretentious, honest. You'll hear stories of him casually riding the subway like anyone else, not in some private car or chauffeur-driven limousine, but just sitting there with everyone else, reading a book, or lost in his own thoughts. He doesn't have a massive entourage surrounding him or people shielding him from the public. He's just Keanu doing his own thing. There's that famous clip of him on the subway where he notices a woman standing nearby and without a second thought, he offers her his seat. It's such a simple gesture, but it captures who he is: polite, considerate, and humble. It's the kind of thing you might expect from a regular person, but it's especially heartwarming to see it coming from someone as famous as him. Even the way he dresses reflects this grounded personality. You won't often see him decked out in designer clothes or trying to show off expensive outfits. Most of the time, he's spotted in simple, casual clothes, like a t-shirt and jeans, blending in with everyone else around him. He doesn't flaunt wealth or status, and in fact, he seems almost uncomfortable with the idea of doing so. That's part of what makes him feel so approachable. He's not trying to be something he's not, or put on airs to fit a certain image. Keanu is also known for his modest lifestyle, despite the fact that he could easily live a much more extravagant one. He's earned millions from his movies, yet he doesn't seem to be caught up in spending it on material things. He's often talked about how money isn't the most important thing to him, and how, for him, it's more about enjoying life and staying true to himself. He's been known to live in relatively modest homes and, as mentioned before, prefers everyday experiences like taking the subway or riding his motorcycle around the city. It's like he's found this balance between enjoying the success he's worked for while not letting it change who he is at his core. But that's not all. Keep watching for me. Another thing that shows how down-to-earth Keanu is how he approaches his work. Despite being one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, he doesn't act like he's above anyone on set. He treats everyone with respect, from the directors and actors to the crew members working behind the scenes. There's this famous story about him during the filming of one of the John Wick movies, where he memorized the names of the entire crew. Imagine that, one of the most famous actors in the world, taking the time to learn the names of everyone working around him, just to show that he sees them, that he appreciates their work. It's a small thing, but it's a huge reflection of his character, which is something that anyone would appreciate. It's also worth mentioning that he doesn't seem to get caught up in the need for constant media attention. While a lot of celebrities are always in the spotlight, whether they're promoting their latest project or just trying to stay relevant, Keanu keeps a low profile. He's not someone who's constantly on social media or looking for ways to keep his name in the headlines. In fact, he's one of the few major stars who doesn't have a presence on platforms like Instagram or Twitter. He doesn't seem to crave that kind of attention. And in a world that's increasingly obsessed with followers and likes, his decision to stay out of that reflects a deeper sense of self-awareness and contentment with who he is. It takes a special kind of person to live like that despite all he has. But he doesn't stop there. Living a humble and down-to-earth life isn't all he does. He also uses his wealth to help people in ways you would not believe. You won't be able to guess the things he has done, the kind works of Keanu. Keanu Reeves is one of those rare people who seems to have a knack for quietly doing good without ever asking for recognition. It's as if his kindness is woven into the fabric of who he is, and he simply acts on it without making a big deal out of it. The way he lives his life off-screen reflects the same quiet depth and generosity he brings to his roles, as if there's an unspoken connection between his character's emotional journeys and his real-life acts of giving. It feels like this kindness flows naturally from him, like an extension of the gentleness and humility people sense when they see him in interviews or hear stories about him. Well, let's get into the stories. One of the most well-known stories is from during the filming of The Devil's Advocate, when Keanu found out that Al Pacino's fee was making the movie's budget tight. Instead of letting the situation affect the film or his co-stars, he took a massive pay cut so that Pacino could be brought on board without any hiccups. He cared more about the film and working with someone he admired than about how much money was going into his own pocket. This act wasn't widely publicized at the time, because that's not how Keanu operates. He doesn't give for attention. He gives because it feels like the right thing to do. And his generosity extends far beyond Hollywood and reaches into personal realms that most people would never know about unless they stumbled upon the stories by accident. One of the most touching examples of this is how Keanu quietly funded children's hospitals for years, donating millions without attaching his name to it. He didn't want to be the face of the cause or bask in the glow of public praise. He just wanted to help sick kids get better, knowing the importance of such places firsthand after losing loved ones to illness. His giving here wasn't about making headlines. It was about easing the suffering of others in a way that truly made a difference. And it doesn't stop there. During the production of John Wick, he was so appreciative of the stunt team's hard work that he went out of his way to buy each of them Harley-Davidson motorcycles. It was another classic Keanu moment. He recognized how essential they were to making the film's intense action sequences come to life, and he wanted to show his gratitude in a big, yet personal way. There's something so genuine about the fact that his gifts are always so thoughtful. It's not just about throwing money around, but about connecting with people and recognizing their value. And in everyday life, Keanu's kindness is felt just as strongly, though often in much quieter ways. There's the now well-known story of him giving up his seat on the subway, just as easily as any other commuter might, but with an added layer of humility that made people pause. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was a real one. He could have chosen to sit comfortably, but he didn't hesitate to stand so that someone else could rest. These little moments speak volumes about who he is when no one's watching, or at least when he thinks no one is. Another touching story involved a fan he met at the airport, who was traveling to see his dying father one last time. When the fan approached him to talk, Keanu could have just offered a quick hello and moved on. Instead, he stayed with the fan, listening, sharing stories, and providing comfort in a moment of real emotional need. It's these acts of connection that make him stand out from so many other celebrities. There's nothing superficial about his kindness. It's real, raw, and rooted in empathy. There's also a famous story from his chain reaction days. 1. The Matrix. A few days before shooting wrapped, a crew member was struggling to make ends meet. Keanu found out, and without making a scene, handed the guy a $20,000 Christmas bonus. It's not the money itself that makes this story special. It's the fact that Keanu noticed, cared, and quietly stepped in to help in a way that would truly impact someone's life. Even in professional situations, his thoughtfulness stands out. On one film set, when a crew member had a family emergency and needed to leave quickly, Keanu offered up his own private transportation to help them get home in time. He didn't make a big deal of it. He just wanted to help make their journey easier. There's a consistency to the way Keanu gives, whether it's to a fan, a friend, or someone who works with him on set. It's all rooted in this deep sense of empathy, this ability to see and understand what others are going through. Perhaps one of the most poignant stories about his giving nature involved a crew member on The Matrix Reloaded. A member of the set team was struggling financially and dealing with family issues, and once again, Keanu stepped in quietly, offering support without expecting anything in return. He didn't just hand over money, though. He talked with the person, making sure they knew he genuinely cared about what they were going through. Keanu's generosity is like an extension of who he is, in the way he lives his life and treats people, both in big ways and small ones. It's not just about making grand gestures or giving to big causes. It's the everyday acts of kindness that define him. The way he notices people, listens to them, and reaches out when they need it. Every time someone talks about his generosity, it's as if they're revealing another layer of a man who is deeply aware of the world around him and who always seems to choose the path of kindness, whether the world is watching or not. What are your thoughts on Keanu as person? Do you love his movies? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.